The girl Ethan Grant was supporting came to stir things up with me again. I really love Ethan so much. Can't you just give him to me? He sat off to the side silently, but sent me a message. Just say yes, play along, and comfort her a bit. I followed his lead and agreed, quietly packing up my things and moving out of the apartment we shared. As I left, I even heard one of his friends joking, "She's so obedient. If you told her to get rid of the baby, she'd probably do that too." Ethan raised an eyebrow, looking relaxed. "Wanna bet? In a week she'll be bawling her eyes out in front of the hospital." But I still did as he said, obediently. I didn't say anything. Instead, I quietly opened another message. "Will you marry me? Really? Are you serious?" He sent over an emoji with bright, sparkling eyes. I pressed the phone screen but didn't plan to reply just yet. Laughter and chatter continued in the living room. "If she really gets an abortion, I'll let you drive my new car for 3 months. Only 3? I want it for a year. Deal." The voices grew louder, the room erupting into cheers. I went back to the bedroom and stuffed my suitcase with whatever I saw, not even bothering to fold anything. It wasn't until my shin accidentally hit the corner of the table that I cried out loud. Ethan had fallen for a girl 7 years younger than him, Lena Monroe. He bought her a car, a house, and took her around the world. But Lena wouldn't even let him hold her hand. With tears streaming down her face, she said, "You already have a family. What we're doing isn't fair to your wife." Her crying broke Ethan's heart, and he immediately flew back to divorce me, holding the divorce certificate to coax her. I had fought with him back then. I couldn't accept such a ridiculous reason for divorce. He said lazily, "I'm just trying to comfort her. Give it a few days, and I'll get the certificate back, okay?" Okay. But it hadn't even been that long when Lena showed up right in front of me, crying in Ethan's arms again. "I really love Ethan. Can't you just give him to me?" All his friends tried to persuade me to be generous, saying I shouldn't argue with a young girl. Ethan sat silently to the side, looking hesitant, but in truth, he sent me another message. "Just say yes, play along and calm her down." I gave in once again. My phone pinged with another message. "Really? Really? Don't lie to me." My face grew hot and I quickly replied, "Really? Really? I'm not lying, I swear." As soon as I finished packing, Ethan took me to the hospital. He was in a great mood the whole way there, chatting with me about how to celebrate my birthday this year. This is the 5th year we've celebrated together. Also the 5th year we've been together. "I saw some beautiful islands, babe. Which one do you like best?" he asked, kissing me on the cheek. "Oh right, you love Malaysia. Okay, we'll go there." It wasn't until we got out of the car that he noticed the tear stains beneath my eyes. He reached out to wipe them, but I slapped his hand away and said nothing. He brought me to the OB/GYN department, and when the doctor began asking about the abortion, that was when he finally spoke up to coax me. "Don't be mad, babe. If we want another one later, we'll just have one, okay?" That girl really is hard to calm down. The doctor didn't seem surprised at all. After a few routine questions, he told me to wait for the procedure. Ethan sat beside me in the waiting area. From the corner of my eye, I saw him continuously texting Lena. Okay. Surgeries take time, you know. I'll come back as soon as it's over, all right? You promised I could kiss you today. Don't go back on your word." But Lena kept throwing tantrums. Seeing that I remained quiet and obedient, Ethan simply stood up and got ready to leave. "Babe, I've got something to take care of. You can handle the surgery on your own. I've already set up the new apartment. Just take a cab there when you're done." He rushed his words, sounding more and more impatient. Without waiting for a response, he disappeared. I lay on the operating table, feeling the emptiness inside me settle back into silence. Right after the procedure, a picture popped up on my phone. It was a plane ticket from London to China. "Wait for me." I didn't go to the apartment Ethan had prepared for me. Instead, I returned to the old neighborhood where I had lived before we got married. Looking at the place before me, all I felt was a sense of stillness and refuge. I couldn't help but think of the Ethan Grant I used to know. I was an orphan growing up. For years, I had a mysterious older sister who supported me financially from afar. After Ethan found out I had moved into an old apartment complex he had bought and successfully gotten into college, he cut off all contact with me. That winter, Ethan and his family moved into the unit just below mine. Back then, he used to run upstairs all the time to find me. He knew I loved candied chestnuts, so every night he'd knock on my iron door with a steaming hot bag in hand. The banging on the metal door echoed loud and sharp. But when I opened it, it was always met with his bright, smiling face. He'd squeeze into my apartment, peel a thick-shelled chestnut for me, blow on it gently, and then hold it up to my lips. "Dear, here, careful, it's hot." His voice would hum warmly in my ears. I'd take a bite straight from his hand. It wasn't until a few moments later that he realized what he had done, and his face turned beet red. Later, I went off to college in the north, and he moved down south. We were miles apart, but every year, on the first day of winter, he would show up with a warm bag of chestnuts for me, never missing a beat. He'd peel them, cool them down, and feed them to me with the same patience and affection. It felt so natural for us to end up together. Eventually, we got married. He became a successful entrepreneur and moved me into a villa. But after that, he never brought me chestnuts again, not even once during winter. He'd even say things like, "Haven't you gotten sick of them after all these years?" I believe the love back then was real. But love is fragile, it changes in a blink. The ding of my phone snapped me out of my thoughts. I looked at the photo Lena Monroe had just sent me. In the image, she was halfway into a hotel bed, pulling Ethan's head down onto her neck. Her pale hands gripped the back of his shirt, her eyes dazed with lust. I didn't have to guess what they were doing. I ran to the bathroom, dry heaving for a long time before I finally pulled myself together. The moment I could think straight, I blocked and deleted him. Then another message popped up, this one from Jace Lee. It was a sticker of a cartoon puppy wagging its tail with the caption, "Are you there? I miss you." Jace Lee had been my desk mate in high school. I barely scraped my way into that elite school, clinging to the lowest admission score. At the start of the semester, our teacher assigned each new student a buddy to help us adjust. I got paired with Jace. He had sharp, single-lidded eyes and a jawline like a blade. When he glanced my way, it startled me so much I shrank into myself. For a long time, I didn't say a single word to him. Until one day, during the lunch break, I needed water so urgently I climbed out the classroom window, my first time doing anything like that, and immediately fell flat on my butt. Thud. Then I heard a low chuckle from above. When I looked up, there was Jace, leaning on the windowsill, a smirk tugging at his lips. Flustered and a little mad, I finally found the courage to speak. "When did you wake up?" "When you started climbing back up. I was wondering if you'd fall. Didn't think you actually would." After that, he laughed even harder, his shoulders shaking as he turned his head. I stood there stunned, realizing for the first time that maybe he wasn't so hard to get along with after all. Later, I started asking him questions, and he was surprisingly good at explaining things, always taking it one step further. One time, when I was completely stuck and couldn't understand anything, he even bought me an entire set of practice booklets. He told me, "Finish these. After that, I'm not helping you anymore." Sometimes, when he seemed exhausted from tutoring, I'd bribe him with milk tea. This routine continued until we got reassigned in our junior year. Naturally, he was placed into the advanced class. Before he left, he asked for my contact info, but after we added each other, he never said a thing. Until about a week ago, out of nowhere, he reached out. He asked how I'd been lately. I had just picked up my divorce certificate that day and had cried so hard I didn't even realize I'd accidentally hit the voice call button. On the other end, he just quietly listened to me cry for half an hour. From the scattered fragments of my sobbing, he figured out I'd just gotten divorced. After Lena came to stir up trouble again, he sent me a message. "Will you marry me?" Hearing the sounds of laughter from the living room, I looked over at the man not far away, legs crossed, smiling with that same unfamiliar smirk. All right. Since that day, Jace has been so much warmer toward me. I never realized in high school that he could talk this much. Now every day, he asks what I'm doing, what I've eaten. He sends me pouty face emojis and says, "I miss you so much." With him around, life feels a little less lonely. 3 days later, Ethan sent me a photo. It looked like he had gone home for dinner with his parents. "Wifey, it's been 2 days. Why haven't you called me? How's your new place? Without my arms around you, are you sleeping uncomfortably?" If I wasn't mistaken, the fair-skinned arm showing at the edge of the photo clearly belonged to Lena Monroe. I replied bluntly, "Looks like you and Lena are getting along pretty well." He answered, "She insisted on coming along. I had no choice. But my parents really like her. She's great at charming the older folks. Maybe one day she can teach you a few tricks. After all," he added, "you're an orphan. No one ever taught you how to deal with elders." He knew perfectly well I had married him, not his parents. There was no need for me to learn how to get along with them. The bitterness I had worked so hard to suppress surged right back up. I didn't respond to him after that. That night, Ethan called me. "The housekeeper I hired said you never showed up. Where are you?" I sighed, not hiding the frustration in my voice, but Ethan just chuckled. "What's wrong? Why are you acting like Lena now, throwing little tantrums?" he said casually. "I told you, it's just an act. Once I get bored of her, it's still you I'll be with in the end. Now tell me, where are you? I'll come find you." I thought for a moment and finally decided it was time to sever things completely. "I'm at the place I lived before we got married. You know where it is." Ethan was the kind of person who acted on impulse. I was afraid he'd rush over immediately, so I forced myself out of bed and sat in the living room waiting for him. But the only thing that came was a gentle drizzle tapping against the windows. A cold night breeze blew in, lifting my hair. As I closed the window, I made a call. It got cut off immediately. A moment later, a voice message came through. It was Lena. Her tone was bratty and full of mockery. "I bought him a huge luxury condo and he won't stay there. Just had to run back to that old apartment. Who even likes a guy like him? At first, I just thought he looked kind of dumb, figured it'd be fun for a while. Who knew he'd fall for me over a bag of chestnuts every winter? What, has he never had anything good in his life? Haha. And it's not like he married you out of love. It was just because he couldn't get anyone else and didn't want to look around anymore. You were clean, obedient, easy, but in bed, boring as hell. Lena's so much better. She's lively, exciting. Come here, baby, gimme a kiss." The message cut off abruptly. My heart split in two. At that moment, I realized there was no way Ethan and I could part peacefully. I cried through the night until dawn. Then came a soft rattle on the iron door, followed by a familiar voice. "It's me, Jace." I dazedly walked over and opened the door. It had been a long time since I'd seen Jace Lee. He looked more mature now, steadier than I remembered. Nothing like the animated guy in the texts he always sent me. He was holding a bag of candied chestnuts. For a second, his face overlapped with Ethan's in my mind. And like a trigger, Lena's voice message came flooding back. Without thinking, I slapped the bag from his hands. My eyes blurred, unfocused. "Get out. I don't want to see you." Meanwhile, Ethan had nothing urgent going on at work, so he was off enjoying himself with Lena. They were with a group of people who had rented a villa up in the mountains. That afternoon, while they were soaking in the hot springs, most of them drifting off to sleep, someone suddenly shouted, "Hey, the heir of the Lee family is back in the country." One of Ethan's friends sat up. "Didn't you say you had a project you wanted to pitch to the Lees? Now that the heir's back, why don't you try to win him over?" Ethan pulled the towel off his face, swam over to check it out. But the friend who had seen the news suddenly looked uncomfortable and clutched the phone close. Wait, my bad. I think I saw it wrong." His awkwardness didn't go unnoticed. Others started crowding around. "What's going on? Let me see. I've met the Lee heir before. Maybe I can tell if it's really him." The guy couldn't shield his phone fast enough. It was snatched from his hand right in front of him. Someone took one look and gasped. "Whoa." He came back and immediately got involved in some fling, holding a woman in his arms. He was doting on her, clearly in love. And she looked awfully familiar. At that moment, everyone finally understood why their friend had suddenly pretended he saw it wrong. Ethan had just been publicly humiliated, and no one dared say it out loud. Realizing something was off, Ethan snatched the phone out of his friend's hands. Through the misty drizzle, they saw Jace Lee carrying a woman bridal style through the rain and into a car. Her face was mostly hidden, but Ethan recognized the shoes on her feet. They were the exact pair he had bought for me, Nora. The thought hit him like lightning. He jumped to his feet and started throwing on his clothes. Someone, confused, asked, Bro, where are you going? Lena's coming over soon. With a cold look and a curse under his breath, Ethan growled. Nora ran off with someone else. That stunned everyone into silence. They exchanged looks, unsure of what to say. Ethan's anger surged so hard his chest was tight and his head buzzed. His gut told him that if he didn't find me now, he might lose me forever. He sped through traffic toward my old neighborhood, calling me again and again. But he didn't notice the luxury car heading in the opposite direction, carrying me away. The line rang several times, but no one answered. Still, Ethan's heart pounded like a war drum. He rushed up to the familiar floor, kicked open the door, and found the apartment completely empty. Nothing left. Ethan stood there, stunned, finally forced to accept one simple fact. I didn't want him anymore. It wasn't until I was already in the car, long after we'd left, that my mind finally started to clear. Jace sat silently next to me the entire time. I lifted my eyes slowly and glanced at him. His left cheek looked a little swollen. Feeling guilty, I rubbed my nose awkwardly and asked, "Are you okay?" He turned his head toward me with a pitiful expression. "No. My face hurts." I really had hit him. From the corner of my eye, I saw the driver's eyes widen in the rearview mirror, only to quickly look away, pretending he hadn't heard a thing. He probably had 1,000 things he wanted to say. Jace frowned slightly and turned my head so I was fully facing him. "No looking up front." We locked eyes for a long moment before I finally broke the silence. "I'm sorry, I don't even know what came over me. I just lost it." His gaze softened, and he gently patted my head. "Actually, it's my fault. I remembered how much you loved candied chestnuts back in high school, so I brought you some. I didn't know it would trigger such painful memories. I didn't realize that bastard used them to win you over and trick you into marrying him." He smiled faintly. "But hey, I brought other food too. Want to try a croissant?" He told me it was his favorite one back when he was in high school in Haishi. He'd tried it again recently. It still tasted just like he remembered. "You should try it too." The driver, clearly used to their rhythm, reached over with one hand and handed me the croissant from the passenger seat. As soon as I opened the wrapper, a rich, buttery aroma filled the air. I ate the whole thing seriously, enjoying every bite. Once I was done, I asked, "Where are we going?" Jace leaned his head on my shoulder, sounding a little tired. "Home. My place. I thought we'd be there soon." But the drive took 4 full hours. We even crossed provincial lines, leaving the city center of Qing City behind. Truth be told, aside from going to college, I'd rarely left my home province. This place was nothing like Haishi. Tall, lush sycamore trees lined the streets, majestic and beautiful. After sleeping a night in the guest room Jace had prepared for me, I gathered the courage to ask, "Can you take me to see a therapist?" If I was really going to be with him from now on, I couldn't keep letting Ethan's shadow hurt him. It wasn't fair. Jace froze mid-motion as he was ladling noodles for me, like he couldn't believe what I'd said. "I was actually trying to figure out how to bring that up," he admitted. "I was afraid you'd stay stuck in all that pain." I was surprised, shocked even. Someone still cared about me, truly. After we finished eating, he took me to see a therapist he had already booked weeks ago. The doctor greeted us with a warm smile. "So this is the girl you scheduled a month in advance?" My face flushed with heat, confused. Jace chuckled and explained, "I didn't know when I'd actually get to bring you, so I booked every available slot." The doctor laughed, said thanks, and left us alone. Then Jace stepped out of the room. Because I cooperated well, the doctor told me there was nothing seriously wrong with my mental health. As long as I stayed away from triggers and focused on positive things, the incident of mistaking someone else for Ethan wouldn't happen again. I thanked the doctor and stepped out of the room. I gave Jace Lee a small wave and said, "I'm okay now." He quickly walked over to me, only to pause in front of me, holding himself back. I reached out and hugged him on my own. "Thank you." Jace was nothing like Ethan Grant. He didn't choose to lock me away at home. Instead, he gave me the freedom to go out and work again. I had been cut off from society for so long, I honestly didn't know what I was even capable of anymore. He said, "Why don't you be my assistant? I just happen to need someone. I don't trust anyone else with the job." I thought about it for a moment, then agreed without hesitation. The next day, I went to work with him. During our first business dinner together, I happened to run into one of Ethan's old friends, Mr. Sue. When he saw me, he was so shocked he nearly dropped his glass. Sister-in-law? What are you doing here? Just then, Jace had stepped away for a minute and Sue grabbed my wrist. His sudden movement terrified me. I panicked and tried to pull away, yelling, "Let me go." "I won't." "No way," he said with a twisted grin. "You're valuable now. I've got to call Ethan and collect my reward." He yanked me toward the private room next door, locked the door behind us, and started dialing. "Hey bro, I've got Nora. The real deal. If I'm lying, I'll cut ties with you." "Hurry up and talk to him," he said, shoving the phone into my hands while he paced the room, clearly thrilled. On the screen, Ethan's face filled the display. I was so scared I immediately threw the phone across the room. My breathing quickened. "Nora, pick up the phone. You won't take my calls. You won't come home. Where the hell are you? Answer me." I was trembling as I spoke. "Ethan, we're already divorced. Can't we just go our separate ways for good?" There was a pause on his end, then he suddenly yelled, "What did you say?" "I said I want a real divorce," I repeated. "Didn't I tell you? I know everything. That you and Lena, you kissed, slept together." "Ethan, you disgust me." And with that, I hung up. Sue was frozen in shock. As I tried to get out, he grabbed me again. "You're not going anywhere. You're coming back to Haishi with me." I struggled violently, slamming into the wall, hoping someone outside might hear the noise. "Wishful thinking," he sneered. "Didn't you hear me? I said I'm taking you back. I already told you, we're divorced." But Sue, much stronger than me, dragged me into a corner. From who knows where, he pulled out a thick rope and tied my hands and feet together. "Sister-in-law, sorry about this. Just suffer a little for now. Once you're back, you'll be living the good life." I stared at him, eyes burning with fury. Just then, the door to the private room burst open with a loud bang. Sue jumped and stood in front of me, waving his hands. Hey, don't panic. We're just playing around here, couple games, nothing serious." He laughed nervously. "Wait, Jace, what are you doing?" Before he could finish, Jace kicked him to the side, hard. Then he dropped to his knees beside me and quickly untied the rope, gently wiping away the tears at the corners of my eyes. "I'm sorry. I got here too late." Still dazed, Sue staggered back up and, not realizing the gravity of the situation, said, "Jace, come on. You really gonna barge in like this and steal my girl? I've already had her. I can recommend someone fresh if you're into that." Jace scooped me up in a bridal carry, looked at Sue like he was already dead, and said coldly, "She's my fiancée." "You kidnapped my fiancée. Effective immediately, all of our business deals are terminated. Expect a lawsuit." Sue's face finally drained of color. His legs buckled beneath him. No, that's not right. She's Ethan's woman. How could she be your fiancée?" "Jace, this must be a misunderstanding, right?" But Jace's bodyguards didn't give Sue another chance to speak. One of them moved forward and clamped a hand over his mouth, dragging him back. Jace carried me out and brought me straight to the private hospital he always used. Jace nervously checked me from head to toe, not relaxing until he was absolutely sure I was unharmed. He patted my back gently, trying to comfort me. "It's over. You're safe now." I reached up and patted his back in return, trying to calm him too. Jace buried his head into the crook of my neck, holding me tightly. "You have no idea how scared I was when I turned around and couldn't find you." When we got home, Jace personally took care of everything with Sue. He used some quiet methods, and within days, the entire Sue family collapsed. Su Tian would spend the rest of his life behind bars. After that, Jace didn't let me out of his sight. No matter where he went, I had to come with him. Even at home, he insisted on staying so close that he once tried to get me to go into the bathroom with him. I looked at him, half amused. Men and women shouldn't be that casual, you know. He took my hand and pressed it against his strong chest, his throat moving as he swallowed. "But you can kiss me." I silently pulled my hand back and shut the door firmly in his face. Then I ran to the kitchen and splashed cold water on my burning cheeks. Jace had been getting more and more shameless lately, but I wasn't ready for anything more. While Jace was out handling some matters, I opened my long-neglected WeChat. As soon as I logged in, message notifications exploded. 99 unread messages. All of them were from Ethan Grant's friends, trying every possible way to find out where I was. A couple of them, to be fair, were decent enough to warn me. They said Ethan had gone off the deep end, offering a reward to anyone who could bring me back. 5,080,000. 5.08 million. My exact birthday. I ignored them all and blocked every single one. In that instant, the world went quiet. Only a few old friends were still updating their daily lives on their feeds. Jace walked over and hugged me from behind. "What are you looking at?" His breath was warm against my ear. I couldn't help but shift slightly to the side. But Jace didn't stop me. He allowed me that little bit of distance. Sitting next to me, he asked, "Nora, when are you going to make me official?" My heart skipped a beat. I really didn't know how to answer. After all, wasn't it because I had agreed to his marriage proposal that I was able to escape everything? It was already late. After thinking about it for a while, I looked at him in the eye and said sincerely, "Tomorrow." Jace seemed stunned for a second, clearly surprised. "You're really saying yes?" Then he muttered, no wonder Ethan thought he had you figured out." He grabbed my hand, no longer teasing, his expression suddenly serious. "I was just messing with you earlier. If you're not ready, we don't ever have to get married. I know your heart's not there yet. It's okay. We'll take it slow. Just don't think about anyone else. Only think about me." I thought he'd be happy, and he was. When I saw the sincerity in his eyes, I nodded quickly. "Okay." I really did feel relieved. Right now, I could only handle holding his hand. Anything more felt like too much. Because of his own big mouth, Jace felt a little guilty and told me to take the next day off. He even gave me a kitten as a gift. From then on, whenever I came home and saw that silvery British short hair, my eyes would light up. The first thing I'd do was scoop it up and rub my face against its fur. Jace would always watch me with this quietly aggrieved look, like he wanted to say something but held it in. One day, he brought in a tailor to take my measurements. "There's a banquet coming up. I can't get out of it. I'm bringing you with me." I'd never been to something like that before and felt nervous just thinking about it. He held my hand and reassured me, "Even if we never get legally married, you're still my fiancé. I can't exactly bring another woman." My cheeks flushed, and I nodded, flustered. But as soon as we arrived at the banquet hall, we saw a familiar face. Ethan was there, with another girl on his arm. I gave them a passing glance, and frowned in disgust. Just days ago, Lena Monroe had also returned to Haishi. She was wearing an outdated designer dress, and when she saw me, her eyes filled with resentment. I ignored her completely and went out for a walk with the kitten. In a shadowy corner, I heard her speak behind me. "It's all your fault." I stopped in my tracks, turned around in confusion. "What does any of this have to do with me?" She walked closer. Her eyes locked onto me. "If you hadn't disappeared, he wouldn't have ignored me. If you had hidden yourself better and Sutian hadn't found you, he wouldn't have rejected me. He said he'd marry me. But now everything is ruined because of you." I let out a mocking laugh. "Wasn't it you who made me disappear in the first place? Again and again, you provoked him, made him divorce me, forced me out of that house, and made sure I overheard the cruelest things he said. When he kicked me out, didn't you think for 1 second he might one day do the same to you?" "Let's be honest," I continued. "You don't even dare confront him. All you can do is take it out on me, but right now we're both victims." Lena blinked, panicking as she tried to argue. "That's not true. You think I didn't try to find him? I did. I couldn't. When he loved me, he said if I kissed him, if I slept with him, he'd do anything for me. But now..." Her voice trailed off. Even she seemed lost in confusion. I think it finally hit her. Ethan, whether when he was good to me or good to her, had only been chasing a sense of conquest. Love? He never had it in him. I spoke softly. "You already know the truth. I don't need to say more." I picked up the kitten in my arms and walked away, leaving her frozen in place. Ethan had used me as a reason to discard Lena Monroe, and now he had already moved on to the next girl. Disgusting. When I entered the ballroom with Jace Lee by my side, I could feel a pair of sticky, obsessive eyes clinging to me. No matter where I walked, I couldn't shake the gaze until its owner walked up to clink glasses with me. "Well, don't you look familiar?" Ethan said with a smirk. "Aren't you the runaway bride?" I didn't want to talk to him, just seeing him made my stomach turn. When I tried to leave, he grabbed my wrist. "Running away? You're the one who came here, aren't you?" His voice dropped. What's with the act now? Playing hard to get? I looked at him coldly. Ethan, I don't understand what you're trying to say. His smile turned smug. Why are you getting so worked up if you're the one who agreed to come? Look. He pulled out his phone and scrolled to a chat. This is you, right? Over the past few days, I'd been focused on work, studying, and taking the cat out for walks. I hadn't replied to anyone except Jace. I'd completely forgotten this banquet was Ethan's idea. He had invited me, asked me to come as his date. The thought made me gag. Literally. Ethan, I thought you already had a date tonight. He paused for a moment, then chuckled. Jealous, are we? I just brought someone to mess with you. But you, getting jealous? And still showing up for me? I yanked my hand away. Is that how you treated Lena too? He tried to say something, but I cut him off sharply. You're delusional if you think I'm here with you tonight. You think too highly of yourself. Ethan snorted. Then what? You here for Jace Lee? He glanced across the room. Come on, you're not even that young anymore. You've been married. Why would someone like him want you? I followed his gaze. Jace was standing across the room, surrounded by powerful people, effortlessly commanding their attention. Everyone seemed to orbit around him, and yet, he would always lower his head to listen when I spoke. Wasn't that because I, too, had something worth admiring? Why wouldn't I be good enough for him? The thought straightened my back. At the very least, you aren't good enough. Ethan's face tightened with frustration. Why can't you just behave? If you don't cooperate tonight and Jace gets pissed, what are we supposed to do then, huh? I ignored him and walked straight toward Jace. Ethan started to panic. Nora, where the hell are you going so fast? Are you insane? His voice was loud, turning heads across the ballroom. I didn't care. I reached Jace and gently took his hand. He turned and looked at me. After a brief pause, Jace smiled and held my hand even tighter. Ethan, pretending not to notice, forced a stiff smile and walked toward us. Mr. Lee, my wife seems to be a little impolite tonight. Jace's lips curved up slightly, but his gaze was icy cold. That's strange, because this is my wife. The whole room fell into stunned silence. No one had expected Jace Lee to suddenly announce he was married, let alone to a woman with no notable background. The smile on Ethan's face finally collapsed. Mr. Lee, you're joking, right? We're divorced, Ethan, I cut in firmly. And no, I don't think any of what happened between us was just some act or game. The pain you caused me was real. There's nothing left between us. Do you understand? Stop bothering me. You're exhausting. Jace wrapped his arm around me and guided my trembling body toward the private lounge. Sorry, my wife's not feeling well. I'll take her out for a bit. He didn't spare anyone else another glance and simply led me away from the crowd. Even after we returned to the private room booked for the banquet, my hands were still shaking. I looked up at Jace as he poured me a glass of water. I asked softly, Do you think I was being unreasonable? You were still talking to those people, and I interrupted everything. He handed me the glass, helped me drink a few sips, then held my hand and reassured me, Not at all, I'm happy. Happy that you finally reached for me, finally came to me for protection. There were a lot of men tonight who would have killed to take you home. I was just thinking about how to let them all know you're mine, and then you walked over. I'm really, really happy. I'm not hungry, I muttered, seeing him eye the room service menu. I'll still order something, just in case, he said. Then I suddenly remembered something and looked up at him. Earlier, you said, my wife. His smile was soft but his gaze serious. Yeah, I meant it, if you're willing. My heart skipped a beat. I lowered my eyes. But we haven't even. He gently cut me off. It's okay, I'm not rushing. I just want everyone to know you're mine. That no one gets to hurt you again. My nose stung with emotion, and I mumbled a quiet, He suddenly leaned in, resting his forehead against mine. Nora? He whispered. I looked up and met his eyes, so close to mine. His eyelashes were long, and the light from outside reflected in his pupils like scattered starlight. Anyone who dares hurt you, he said softly, I'll make sure they hurt 10 times more. He said it so lightly, almost carelessly, but something about it made my heart tremble. Ethan, I started, hesitating. He won't show up in front of you again. Jace replied calmly, standing up. I promise. I sat up straighter and let out a small laugh. How do you even pull that off? He raised an eyebrow, eyes gleaming. Trade secret. I couldn't help but swat his arm. Fine, don't tell me then. He caught my wrist and pulled me into his arms, resting his chin on top of my head. His voice was low and muffled. Nora, I'm a little jealous. Jealous of what? I asked, surprised. That cat, he said with exaggerated grievance. Every time you come home, you hug it, but you never hug me. I laughed through my tears, slipping out of his embrace and putting on a mock stern face. Jace, how old are you? 3, he replied confidently. I burst out laughing and reached out to pinch his cheek. You childish brat. He caught my hand, then suddenly grew serious. But there's something I am serious about. Tomorrow, will you come with me somewhere? Where? To the civil affairs office, he said, eyes locked on mine, burning with intensity. Get married? I froze, my heart pounding like a drum. So soon? But, didn't you say? I did, Jace replied without hesitation. But I've changed my mind. After watching your ex constantly harass you, I couldn't take it anymore. He leaned in closer, his breath brushing softly against my ear. So, are you saying yes or no? I gently pushed his face away, murmuring under my breath. Yes. Not long after, Ethan Grant's company began to suffer one blow after another. First, his partners pulled out one by one, then the banks started pressing for loan payments. Eventually, all the properties under his name were frozen. He begged everyone he could, but all those friends who once called him brother now avoided him like the plague. Word had gotten out. Jace Lee had spoken. Anyone who dares help Ethan is declaring war on the Lee family. Someone whispered the warning directly to Ethan, and that's when he finally understood. Jace wasn't just punishing him. He was out to completely destroy him. With nowhere left to turn, Ethan swallowed his pride and came to find me. He knelt in front of me, crying bitterly. Nora, I know I was wrong. Please ask Jace to let me go. I swear I'll never bother you again. I just want a way out. I looked down at him, disheveled, pathetic, and felt nothing. Ethan, you deserve every bit of this. Then I turned around and walked away, not sparing him another glance. As for Lena Monroe, her fall was even worse. She had grown used to being spoiled, to spending recklessly without a second thought. But after Ethan abandoned her, she couldn't even afford her rent. The same girlfriends who used to fawn over her now laughed behind her back. What, you really thought you were a princess? They sneered. You were just a toy. Desperate and alone, she tried to reach out to Ethan for money, only to find herself blocked completely. No calls, no messages, nothing. Twisted by love turned to hate, she eventually tracked Ethan down and stabbed him with a knife in broad daylight. A passerby called the police, and she was arrested on the spot. One day, Jace and I were lounging in the backyard, basking in the afternoon sun. The silver British short hair was curled up on his lap, purring loudly. I heard Ethan's brain's so messed up now, he can't even hold a job, Jace said casually. He's out on the streets begging for change. I gently stroked the kitten's head and smiled faintly. Oh, that's good. Jace bent down and kissed the top of my head. Feel better? He looked up at me, his eyes gleaming with mischief and affection. Not really, I said softly. Why not? I reached up, looped my arms around his neck and whispered, because I'm already living such a good life. I honestly don't care about him anymore. Jace let out a low laugh and sealed my lips with a gentle kiss. The sun spilled over us like gold, warm and soft. Even the breeze felt tender.